One, two, three, four.
Hello and welcome to Dopey, the podcast on drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. And my name is Dave, and I'm in the Dopey studio. If you are watching, you know that. I sound like such an idiot saying in the Dopey studio. It's like so stupid. I'm very excited. Wait, what are you saying? You don't want a big introduction?
It's so legit. Like, you should tell it. Look at my studio. It's so legit. I was so impressed. I was like, shit, I'm in my bed.
Dude, your bed is looking pretty good. You got a cheetah behind you. Now, before we get anywhere, I just want to introduce this woman properly. You're an artist. You're not just a meme maker. You're a fucking artist. She was one of the few participants in DopeyCon. She's got a Dominican man's name. Her name is Joelle. Welcome to Dopey.
I usually say Puerto Rican, but that's just me. Hi.
I never met a Puerto Rican man named Joelle, but I know like 3 Dominican Joelles.
It's probably because I'm in Philly and you're in New York.
Right. All the Puerto Ricans fled to Philadelphia somehow or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Dominican men. Say it again?
They just want to hang out with me.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. And she looks like a cross between Cleopatra and Cher lounging on her bed by the window with a painting of a cheetah behind her. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Did you research what my favorite compliments were beforehand?
That's it? Cher and Cleopatra?
I'm sure there's more, but those are like top 3. I'm so glad I'm losing my voice right now. Also, that's a flag of the Lil Ugly Mane album, 3-sided tape.
What is that? What is that?
Really good music.
Yeah, I'm like obviously very old. I don't feel as old as I look and am, but the group is called 3-sided tape?
No, that's the name of the album. It's by a rapper, but I mean, he kind of like goes into every genre, especially on that album, called Lil Ugly Mane.
Lil Ugly Mane. Like Gucci
really
Mane.
Good.
All right, so
yes.
We'll check that out. So what the fuck, Joelle? How did you start Namaste at Home Dad? Like what's your deal? Like what's your story? You're a mysterious woman, and I'd like to know more.
So actually the anniversary of me starting my page, I think, was yesterday.
Wow. Congratulations. Right? How long has it been? How many years is the anniversary?
So I was just gonna get to that, but I don't want to, but I knew it was coming, so I was gonna say I think it's been 5 years, maybe even 6, which I hate because I feel like I should be so much further, and I'm just not because of shadow bans and stuff. It's frustrating, especially because I put my I probably would have done it anyway, but I literally stopped doing what I went to go to college for, which is actually drug addiction counseling, to focus full time on internet comedy or whatever the fuck I'm doing. So it's just a little frustrating.
I think your internet comedy is pretty intense and incredibly smart and not like any other internet comedy I've seen.
Thanks. I try to be all of those things.
See, it looks like to me, when I look at your page, it reminds me of art school. Did you go to art school?
I did for 5 minutes.
Okay.
I went to the Art Institute, which is pretty much the DeVry University of art schools, for a semester for fashion design, actually. And then I think I went to rehab right after that, which thank God. I was kind of pressured into going there because I showed interest. I sent an email saying I was interested in checking it out. And then the next day they were come in for a tour. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, the semester starts tomorrow. You can start, you have to sign up right now. And I was just like, and I did. And it was terrible. My roommate used to try and beat me up every single day for no reason. For no reason at all. And we had major beef. She would threaten me. She'd have to get in my face, and my other roommates would pull her back. I would pee in her face wash to get back at her because she was 200 pounds bigger than me, and that's probably an extreme exaggeration. 175.
But would you actually pee in her face wash?
Yes.
So how would you do that? You'd open the bottle up and pee in the bottle, or you peed in something else and poured it in?
Peed into the bottle.
Wow.
I have good aim for it.
Yeah, that's impressive.
But
When
she
did you
really
start?
deserved it.
Why? What did you tell me the beef, and then we're gonna get into your storied drug history.
Okay. So also the time that I was in art school was when I was this is the last time I tried to take instant release Adderall as prescribed, which actually no I didn't, because I was snorting it the whole time. And this was also like around the time where I was really getting addicted to, I know I'm like jumping way ahead, but that's me. Heroin. So I was going through a lot, and I was kind of in like Adderall induced psychosis at the time, but this bitch was making it so much worse because I don't know, like, okay, it was like a movie. I go into my dorm on the first day and she's like, just so you know, I'm from the hood. I don't fuck around. Like, I've beat up dudes, whatever. Like, this is my room and you're going to abide by my rules. And I'm just like, okay. And just, I don't know, for like, she just kept doing one thing after another, like coming home at like 3 a.m. when I had class at 7, turning on all the lights and blasting music. I think she would do it on purpose. And I'd be like, do you mind? I have class. She's like, I don't fucking care. And I don't know, I tried to put up with it, but it all kind of accumulated when I went to stay with my boyfriend for the weekend, which I do every weekend because I wanted to avoid her. But I came back and there was like this gigantic naked man in my bed with like used condoms everywhere. And she had a broom on top of all my on my pile of books with like hair and shit all in it. And I just went off. And then she's like, "You're dead, bitch." And like, it was really like a movie, but
crazy.
Worse, because it was an Adderall psychosis. And every day she'd just like try and pick fights with me and then like get in my face and have to get pulled off. So I just did little psychotic things like pee in her face wash behind her back.
How did it end?
Really fucking insane.
How? What? Tell me the end of it.
I'm gonna sound really psychotic.
That's okay.
Okay.
This seems
like,
good. This seems good for the show.
I know, it's good for the podcast, but like everyone listening, actually go ahead and judge me. This is really insane. So like I finally had like a psychotic break from Adderall. This is so nuts. I can't believe I'm like recording this. Whatever. Good content. Okay, anyways. She was sleeping and she had just tried to get in a fight with me, and for some reason I never liked my right ear. And I was staring at myself in the mirror with a pair of scissors. I'm so fucking insane. And I had like my sewing scissors from class, and I basically cut a piece of my ear off.
Let me see your
I didn't
ear.
even realize the irony, like blah blah blah, Van Gogh, art school, until afterwards, and it was bleeding like profusely. Like I was just bleeding out for like 2 hours, and I filled like a towel with blood. And then I went up to her while she was sleeping, and I like got in her face and was like, "Hey!" And she woke up, and I threw the blood. Can I even say this? This is so insane.
This is great.
I threw the bloody rag on her and was like, "Stop fucking with me. I'm fucking insane." And she never did again.
Let me see your ear.
It doesn't look. Actually, if anything, it looks more normal. Wait.
No, yeah. Let me see. Come closer. No, it looks totally good. So your ear,
I've just
your
told
ear.
myself plastic surgery that I always wanted.
Did you?
I am psychotic. After
Did you
that,
get plastic? Did you get plastic surgery on your ear or no?
No, my sister just got a nose job though.
So it healed. It healed naturally, and
Yeah.
you threw the bloody towel at your crazy roommate. And then, did you quit school? Did she quit school? Like, what was the end of the whole thing?
They finally switched my dorm. And I ended up quitting that. Like, the whole time I was like, this girl's trying to beat me up every day. I haven't slept in weeks. Please switch my dorm room. And then right after that, for some reason, like, she left me alone for 2 weeks, and then they finally switched my dorm, and I lived on top of the H&M in Philly, which was so weird. And then after that, I just dropped out. And I think went to rehab. I don't even know.
So when did you start getting high?
Like on anything? I think freshman year of high school. Before that, like, okay, my elementary school, we didn't even have DARE. Like it didn't exist. There was no drug
Me neither.
information program.
Me neither.
Really?
Yeah. Nothing. Zero.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. My parents were really overprotective. It was a small Catholic school. But I was one of those kids where if someone was smoking cigarettes, I'd be like, you're going to die of lung cancer. And I thought everyone who used drugs was a loser until like there were these two guys in my eighth grade when I was in 7th grade that I found out smoked pot, and I thought they were like so hot. But even still, I was still hesitant to use drugs. I was really scared of my mom, basically, is all it was. I didn't really think about it at all. And then once it came into my orbit, I was just terrified of my mom finding out, which was a valid mentality, because when she did find out, she like totally took control of my life. But yeah, it's pretty much like freshman year of high school. Me and my girlfriends would hang out with these like older guys that we thought were so cool who did drugs and stuff. And it was interesting because like they would do a lot of drugs in front of us and we would always say no. But then like behind their backs, we started doing drugs all the time. And like, I don't know, we would like get off on being like, oh, we don't do anything. Huh? But then it's like, let's go snort coke at like 3 PM.
When did that, I mean, so you started smoking weed like freshman year of high school or something? Yeah. And when did it become like, did you love it? Like, when did you realize that you love doing drugs?
Immediately.
Right.
It took me like 9 times to actually get high off of weed. But once I finally got high, I was like, I want to do this every day. I was a drug addict like immediately. Even though I was in denial about it for a long time, I was just like, I want to do every drug. But at the same time, I think really what happened was, so my grandfather moved in with us. He was very sick. And to this day, like, I don't know if he did this on purpose to like, because he kind of had a little beef with my family because he had this like big farm and all this freedom and blah, blah, blah. But like the guy couldn't live by himself. So my parents pretty much forced him to move in with us. And he was always so, I feel bad saying this because like I love the guy and I had a great childhood with him. But when he moved in with us, he was so mean to all of us. And one day freshman year, very shortly after I started smoking weed, I came home from school and suddenly he's being really nice to me. And he's like, hey, Joelle. And you have to remember, I'm 30 years old. So this was kind of like the beginning of the opioid epidemic. Like no one even used those words and even knew what it was really.
Totally.
So I come home from school. He's like, hey, Joelle, I saw on the news today that kids your age really like to take these drugs and they feel really good and they're a lot of fun.
Your grandpa told you that? Okay.
And yeah, he's like, but I don't like to take them because they make me feel weird. So if you want them, you can have them. They're in my top drawer. And I open the drawer.
Shut the fuck up.
I swear to God, there's hundreds of Oxycontin and Percocet. And I had no idea what they were. I remember at the time I thought like getting high was getting high. So like that night I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And I took one. I think some of them were Perc 5s. Some of them were Oxy 10s. Is that even a thing? I remember there was like 5 and 10s. And I think 20s at a period, whatever. But I took one pill the first night and didn't really feel anything. Because I didn't wait. I thought it was going to be immediate like weed. And then I took 2 more. And then the next thing I remember is like I'm lying like up against my wall with like my feet up in the air. And I'm like, this is the best feeling ever. I'm going to do this all the time. And
hold up for a second. I just need to understand this because I've talked to a lot of people about, you know, where their drug addiction came from and yada, yada, yada.
I know, this is fucked up.
This is like the most fucked up thing I've ever heard in my life. How old were you when, yeah, I think so. I think this is the most fucked up thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's sad, right? My parents didn't believe me when I told them this.
How old were you when your grandfather said, I saw a news report that kids like getting high on Oxycontins and I have some for you? You're 14? How old was he?
80 something.
What did your grandfather do for a living?
I know he carved a lot of birds out of wood, and they were really good. I think it's funny. I like just read his obituary online. I think he used to like do radios for local airways.
He was a radio guy?
Like a war hero too.
Hold on. Are you telling me the truth that your grandfather saw a report? Keep her big in the screen, please. Please, thank you. That your grandfather saw a news special about the beginning of the opioid epidemic and thought maybe you'd like to enjoy them too. Is this true?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I think about this all the time. Like, why did he do that? Like, he had to have heard that it was a negative thing. It's not like the news was like, great news, kids. We have the best drug in the world and you should try it. You know, like, he had to have heard it was a problem.
And it was like heroin. It was the beginning of heroin. Like, how could I honestly, like, in all of my time doing this, I've never heard anything like this. Like, this is like
so strange too, because like my whole family is so straight laced. Like,
I'm almost Joelle, I almost don't. The story's so nuts. I almost don't believe it.
Really?
So, is it your mother's father or your father's
My
father?
dad's dad.
And so you're 14. You start. I'm just gonna go with this. You're 14 and you start taking Percocets and OxyContin from your grandpa, and you love them at 14. Like, do you share them with your friends immediately or no? Yeah.
I literally, the day afterwards, I start taking them and going to school every day. I would take them on the bus, and each day I would take more and more. And then like I finally heard one of like my guy friends that did drugs. He's like, oh, the best drug ever is this drug called OxyContin. I was like, I had that at my house. He's like, are you serious? Like, you could get so much money for that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh. So I started selling them too, and I would give them to my friends because I had so many. And he would get them constantly. Like, he would re-up, so I could re-up.
Did he take them or no?
I don't think, no, he didn't.
No,
because
he couldn't have,
took
right?
all of them.
Yeah. And how many were you like selling a bunch? When did you find that you were like addicted to them?
So I actually didn't get addicted to them because one day I took 8 of them on the school bus, and I pretty much like, I don't know if I could call it an OD, but like I passed out in the school like I threw up all over the school bathroom and passed out for like hours. And
How
after
old?
that, same year.
So like
Actually,
14, 15, like 10th grade.
Actually, no, 15.
Like 10th grade.
Yes.
Okay. And did the school know?
No.
So you were just like, I have a stomach ache kind of thing.
It was kind of funny. I was in math class, and I was working with a partner on some project, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but she was getting mad at me because, like, I guess I wasn't really responding because I was like trying not to throw up. And I just looked at her. I'm like, I'm going to throw up everywhere. And then I stand up and the teacher's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to throw up everywhere. And then I go in the bathroom and I throw up everywhere. And then just never came back. And yeah, nobody came to look for me or anything, which is weird. But
and
that's
like,
what happened.
How much were you dealing and how much was it like guys like me because I can give them pills and I'm cool because I have access to drugs and all that?
Well, here's the thing. I still would never give guys drugs for free. Like, if I'm hanging out with guys, like, they're going to give me drugs for free.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I didn't really feel like that was a part of it.
But you're like,
I would only, sorry.
Please. No, you
I
go,
would only
please.
really sell to a few people because I wanted them for myself. I didn't really start selling them. I would give a couple to like my girlfriends, and I didn't really. So my mom, it was weird too because actually, my mom would catch me with weed, right? And I would get grounded for like 2 weeks, not be able to have my cell phone or anything. But if she found the pills, it would be like, go put grandpa's pills back. Because like nobody really knew anything about them, I guess, at the time. And so like when I would get grounded for smoking weed, I would just be like, oh, I guess I'll just do OxyContin. Like that's you're not allowed to do drugs, drug. But yeah, I didn't really start like selling them until after I had to like, I don't know whatever OD in the bathroom. I couldn't stand the taste of it. It would make me throw up immediately. So I stopped doing them for a while and I was like, I'm never doing them again. And at that point, so basically my mom caught me with weed too many times. and she made me switch to the high school where she was a religion teacher at.
Wow.
So she could keep an eye on me. This really like expensive prep school that I fucking hated, honestly, but whatever. And then once I went there, I would sell them because I could like charge people a shitload of money because everyone there is like so rich.
So when you got to the expensive school, you made a business out of it more than you were like all strung out on the pills because you threw up. It was like, I don't want to feel like it didn't real. You weren't like super caught up in being on the oxys because you didn't like throwing up all over the school. And then you're like, I can make money.
Like it was strange. I think for a while, it was hard for me to actually get addicted to stuff. The same thing with heroin. It took me a while to get addicted to it. But like, it was strange because I was doing them like every single day for like months before that happened. But I used to get really traumatized. I wonder if this runs in my family because my sister has a legitimate phobia of throwing up. Like she has to go see a therapist because of it. And like, that was also part of the reason I started doing drugs was because like when I tried drinking, I would binge drink I was like, oh, this alcohol isn't bad. And then I would give myself alcohol poisoning every time. And I couldn't even like smell it without throwing up. And it just turned me off from alcohol. That's why I started doing drugs. But like, I really was like obsessed with the oxys. But the second it made me throw up, like I just couldn't even taste it without throwing up. And I was just like, done.
So when that happened, what did you switch to? Like, how did your life change? Like, I was the same way with alcohol, and I started to do drugs because I couldn't handle getting sick from alcohol. Like,
it's so annoying.
So annoying. And it didn't make me feel the way I really wanted to feel. Like, I wanted to be like idiot, drunk, whatever, but I would throw up and I would pass out. It wasn't what I wanted to feel. When you give up the oxys and you don't get too strung out, like, where does your drug career go? Like, I guess you become a big time dealer in the prep school, but what are you using at that point?
Like at that point, it was like my goal in life to do every drug I could get my hands on as much as possible. So I've never done meth. It just really wasn't a thing where I grew up, like at all. But at that point, I was obsessed with ecstasy, I guess.
I could see that.
Like junior years when I started doing ecstasy as much as I could. Still smoked weed like all day, every day, which I don't anymore. Coke, hallucinogens, pretty much anything. But I didn't do PCP until I was like 19, maybe 18.
I feel like your DopeyCon story, I think, was a PCP story.
Yeah, it was.
So when does it start being like, this might be a problem? Like at what point, like I'm sure, when did other people think it was a problem and when did you think this might be a problem?
I feel like people thought I had a reputation for being one of like the biggest druggies. It was weird because I definitely had a lot of friends and I guess I was like popular, whatever the fuck. But everyone knew that me and my girlfriends, sorry, I touch my hair a lot. Everyone knew me and my girlfriends as like the crazy party girls that like did a lot of drugs from like, honestly, yeah, like freshman year onward anyway, especially when I got to the prep school. Like when I first got there, one of my best friends who actually just died last year of heroin overdose, but when I met him because he like would make up songs about me in my math class, like, and call me like Cokie. Like he'd just make up these songs about me doing drugs. And like on my last day of school at Eustis, everyone's like, Joelle, we just wanted to say that like, you're actually really cool, but we were all scared of how you were going to be when you first came to the school because of what happened to you at your last school that got you kicked out. And I'm like, I didn't get kicked out of my last school. So I don't even know. It's okay. They were like, oh, we heard you got kicked out of your last school because you overdosed on acid in the school bathroom. So
Nice.
I guess like people heard I know. I'm like, that's not even possible. But I guess people heard like pieces of that like oxy half-ass OD story. And I don't know. I don't even know how people there would have heard about it.
Well, where are you from? Are you from Philly proper? Or are you from one of a King of Prussia or Pottstown or one of those towns?
Jersey.
New Jersey, where at?
Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill, right there. That's right out. I used to do cigarette promotions in Cherry Hill years ago.
Where?
I don't know, those disgusting clubs. Like I would drive down with heroin and
Top
like
Dog.
No, it was another one. It was another one. It was like It was so bad. Oh my God. I would hire these women to be cigarette models to hand out packs of Parliaments in Cherry Hill. It was a really weird time in my life.
I feel like that's what I would do with my life if that was still a thing.
Say that again. You think you'd be a cigarette model in Cherry Hill? That'd be awesome. That would be a great way for us to have met. What was I going to say? So you have this reputation, right? You have this drugged out reputation. You're kind of like, how much are you selling? Are you making money? Or you're all tripped out on ecstasy? Like, what is your life like then? When does it start becoming like, holy shit?
I was so in denial. Even like, after, it took me until I was like 19 already, like doing heroin every single day for a year straight to realize I had a problem.
When was the first time you did heroin?
17.
Tell me the situation. Give us the situation.
So there was this guy named Shannon who was like in his 30s, I think, and he would have all these high school kids come party at his house, and he was a heroin addict. It was such a shithole. He just had like 2 pit bulls running around, like humping each other the whole time. You could smoke cigarettes inside. It was just like older dudes trying to hook up with younger girls. And that's where like all of my friends really started getting addicted to heroin. Because it kind of like put everyone onto it. Also, like the guy, my first like high school boyfriend I was like a freshman and I was dating him. He was like a super senior and he had an apartment where we would also like always go and do drugs. But yeah, the first time I ever did it was a party at Shannon's house. And actually like my best friend at the time was already doing heroin. And I was like kind of dating this like foreign exchange student from Spain just because I was like bored. And I remember we're like sitting on the couch and she's like, do you want to try dope? And I actually really didn't want to. I was like, okay, I mean, like I don't know. I had this weird like checklist in my head where I'm like, I have to do every drug before I die. I'm like, I guess I have to do it, but like, it's heroin. Like, why are people even doing this? This is stupid, but I'm going to go do it. So I went upstairs in the bathroom and I did it with them. And I go back downstairs. I'm sitting on the couch with my like foreign exchange student boyfriend. And he's like, oh, how is it? I'm like, this sucks. Like, I'm never doing this again. Like, this feels fucking dumb. Like, this is the reason everyone's sitting around here with a fucking lazy eye, like sucking their dick. Bye.
So why? Wait. What about it? What about it did you hate at first?
The empty feeling. I don't know. It was just like nothingness, which is weird. I mean, because it is like the same as oxys, I guess, but for some reason I just hated it. I think I also felt guilty. Like, I think I was expecting it to feel, because at the time I was doing a lot of Molly
ecstasy.
and like
right.
uplifting
and it
drugs.
felt good. It felt great. And
Yeah.
ecstasy doesn't have that profound, great feeling. It just has this incredible, like, this numb feeling, like, which I really liked. I liked ecstasy that felt like heroin. Like, that was my favorite. But keep going.
I liked that too after I'd done heroin.
Yeah.
So the first time I was like, I'm never doing this again. And I really thought I wouldn't. It's kind of annoying. Like, it's not my fault that I'm a drug addict. Like, everything was an accident. So then the time there was some like rich girl that I thought was annoying who was having like an open house party at like her giant mansion. And someone's like, you could bring whoever you want. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then I invited like 40 people from like the public school and it was like a huge mess. It was funny, but like really fucked up. Like the whole house was like trash. And I guess like I invited a lot of my friends that were on heroin, and she like lied and said the cops were coming. But at that point I felt bad because like it was just bad. So I was like, okay, yeah, the cops are coming. We got to go, everyone. And on the way out, I see my friend Jack, who was my first friend who died from heroin. Sorry. I mean, you live in the city too. There's people fighting outside. It's really distracting.
Don't look.
I know.
So,
okay,
so you remind me of like a character from the movie Kids. That's when I hear this story, what it reminds me of, like young, reckless, bringing all these people to rich people's parties. Like I was like such a nerd. Like I did a lot of drugs, but I was totally like sequestered. Anyway, when do you think it's like bad? Like when, okay, you do heroin for 10 months before you feel like, you even had a habit. Like, what was the fantasy then? The fantasy was like you were this wild child, you know, bohemian person, right?
I guess so. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like darker than that, and I just didn't really think about it.
What's the darkness? Let's hear about it. This is good.
Okay, I'll get real with you. I don't know, like ever since I was in I think it all started when I got put on like ADHD meds as a kid, because after that I was just like never the same. I remember
What did
being
they
in
put
like
you on?
Ritalin. And then I tried everything else. But I like the first day of school in 6th grade, I tried Focalin, and I was literally having like Clockwork Orange style hallucinations, and like the whole thing really fucked me up. But I don't know, like I just remember being in 4th grade and they're talking about like, oh, like what do you want to be when you grow up? And like I had this fantasy. This is so fucked up. I don't know what I'm saying all this shit on your podcast, but whatever. It's like good content, I guess. I had like this idea, not like a fantasy, but I was just like, I kind of just want to go to jail for the rest of my life. Like I don't want to, like I can't see myself doing anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't know. Like I feel like I wasn't trying to be like, my life is a movie. I feel like I wasn't really even like trying to do anything. I just was doing it.
Was it almost like, was the jail fantasy almost like, I don't want to have to try to do anything, just lock me up so I don't have to fucking do anything? That's kind of like what heroin is like. It's like, if I'm doing this, I don't have to do anything else. And it's like, as long as I can maintain like status quo or homeostasis of having drugs, having dope, that's all I have to worry about. And I get that, I get to feel exactly that feeling. And it's like a much more comfortable version than real jail. Have you ever been to real jail?
No, I've been arrested a couple times, but no.
Right. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing that your young fantasy never came through.
I know.
But I get it. I get it. That's the whole thing. You don't want to fucking deal with, you know, your life. So like when, like how bad did it get? Like you were, I mean, like this early stuff sounds pretty good. When does it start getting bad?
I didn't really have it that bad. I was kind of fine.
Oh, give me a break. You would, huh?
I think the worst of it for me was what?
What I was gonna say was you wouldn't be on Dopey. You wouldn't be in this situation if it didn't get bad. Everybody that comes on Dopey, it has to get bad at some point.
Oh no, I know. It was bad. Yeah, it was fucking bad. I think the worst of it though was like when I went to Florida for treatment. Like
where'd you go?
Like what treatment center? Ambrosia.
Where was it?
Port St. Lucie. And the one in West Palm.
I went to Renaissance in Delray. Okay. Bad. Anyway,
I lived in Delray too.
What happened in Port St. Lucie? Port or Point?
I feel like what I'm going to say, it like hardly has to do with like the heroin. I mean it does. It's a direct result of my heroin use, but being stuck in that cycle of just being like a pawn passed from rehab to rehab to halfway house and thinking like this is as good as it gets, and having like nobody view you as a person, and nobody like, I don't know, like life down there just sucked so fucking bad. I don't know. I'm weird. I think I'm very good at, I don't know if I'm good at processing my emotions or if I'm just excellent at living in denial and repressing my emotions. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I got to the point where, yeah, my heroin use was awful. Like my life sucked. Cause I'm really close with my family, and every day it was like my mom, like, I don't know, just like robbing my parents and my mom like sobbing and then trying to get me into rehab and like hiding at people's houses. And I would have like men pay for my drugs. I wouldn't have sex with them or anything, which I don't even honestly see. That sounds weird to say. I don't like see anything wrong with that. Like I wouldn't judge someone for doing that, but I would find these like very insane men that were like obsessed with me and would just pay for all my drugs for me to hang out with them. And like a lot of those people were dangerous and like fucking crazy. So like it's definitely bad.
See, I think you're fast forwarding through some shit that I really need to get to here. Like,
I know.
I
mean,
want to know. I want to know about the like. I wish I had you on the show after DopeyCon because this story it's a lot for me. Between the young sort of kingpin bullshit, Shannon's house, fast forward to hanging out with psychotic weirdos who give you drugs to sit in your presence. What's that period? Give us a little snapshot, a little Super 8 of that time.
So, basically, like the second time I did heroin was at that party I was talking about, and I thought I was doing coke, but I did heroin, and from that I was like, at that point I was like, this is the best feeling ever. I want to do this all the time, but I was still scared. And I watched all my friends like get addicted, go to rehab, people die. And for some reason at that point I could do it whenever I wanted. I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, you don't do it every day. And I was like that for like 2 years. From 17 to 19, I really could do heroin like whenever I wanted. But then I met my first boyfriend who was actually that way. It was weird because he texted me yesterday, and we haven't been together for like 10 years. He still has the box with this spoon and needle in it and hasn't touched it since we were dating. So fucking weird. But like, I met him and I like did heroin with my friends, and I told him about it. I'm like, oh, you're gonna be so mad at me. I did heroin. He's like, oh, actually, can you get me some? He's like, I could do it whenever I want and I never get addicted. I'm like, oh my God, me too. Like, are there some people just like that? And he's like, yeah. So at that point, he was also like impoverished, I guess, and his brother started giving him Oxy 40s and 20s to sell. And once I lost that fear of getting addicted, I think also that in combination with like my first relationship and like trying to get rid of like that awkwardness of like, I don't know. Cause like I said, I did heroin before I ever even like lost my virginity. I thought I hated everybody. And then I was like really in love with this guy. And I guess we just thought we were invincible. And that's why, I don't know, like our relationship really was amazing. But then at the same time, like we start doing oxys and heroin more and more and more. And like, because he could stop, I was just like, oh, I'm just doing this by choice. Like I can stop the next day. I can stop the next day. And then it just turned into like, yeah, like it took me until I went to my first music festival. No, it wasn't my first music festival, but we went to a music festival.
Which one? What festival?
I think it was Wakarusa. It was either Wakarusa or All Good. I don't even remember.
Okay.
It might have been a different one too. I think I went to like 3 at that point in time.
He never got strung. He never got strung out.
No, it's like he's incapable of getting addicted to anything. It's weird.
See, usually you hear that shit and it's bullshit. Usually like that's the beginning of the story, and then they wind up, dead or in rehab or something, like you or me.
Yeah, it really is true. Like when we were dating, I was like a size 0. He could fit into my pants, and he would drink like a 30-pack every night. And then like when I had to go to rehab, I was like, well, like you're an addict too. You drink that much every single night. It's just your drug of choice is alcohol. And he's like, okay, watch this. And then he just quit, and he didn't have any withdrawals. It was insane. After doing it for like years.
When was the first time you shot up?
I think I was like 9 months into sniffing it like every single day. So like 19. I really didn't want to shoot up. Like I never wanted to. And
and was it, what do you remember the first time you shot up? Who were you with? Was it with that guy?
No, at that point he's like, we have to quit. And I started doing it behind his back all the time. I think that's why I was in denial of the fact that I was an addict. But I actually, I remember the first time I shot up. It was this girl, Jacqueline, I was friends with, and I used one of her used needles, which like, what the fuck? I'm so lucky. I still don't have like PEP or anything. I never got it. It wasn't that, it was on my 19th birthday, I think. because right afterwards I went out to dinner with my parents. I met them at Bahama Breeze at the Cherry Hill Mall. And like the look on my dad's face was, he's just like shaking his head. And I'm like, what? I'm tired. So
Right.
tragic.
And who made you go to rehab the first time?
I think I agreed. I think actually I told my parents, like my boyfriend basically was like, if you want to be with me, like you have to get help.
Okay, so lay that out. So you're all fucked up. He gave up dope. He gave up everything because it didn't really make a difference to him. You're strung out behind his back, and he's like, you're a fucking mess. You got to go to rehab, and you loved your boyfriend, and you're like, Mom and Dad, let me go to rehab so I can be with my boyfriend.
Yeah, I remember I was like, Mom, I have a problem with like Percocets. I've been snorting Percocets.
Since
And
Grandpa
like,
was in the house.
I'm like,
Did you say, Mom, Grandpa gave me too many Percocets, and now I have to go to rehab?
I told them that when like they came to visit for family day and rehab, and like they didn't believe me. I'm like, why would I lie about this?
Because it's the
Like,
most fucked up story. It's the most fucked up story ever. So you go to rehab in Florida. Do you stay with the boyfriend, or do you immediately meet somebody in rehab?
That's actually hilarious. No, the first rehab I went to was in Jersey. The second rehab I went to was in Florida. And actually, I'm about to move across the country next week to be with my first rehab romance. So that shit works.
Wow. Wow. Is he clean?
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't a heroin addict. He was 18. I picked him up. Now he's like 27. I picked him up when he was 18. I was 22. He was like a trash can addict with like crack and Molly and Xanax and everything else besides heroin. I don't actually really like to date heroin addicts. I feel like two heroin addicts don't mix.
No.
Obviously.
So like, so like you go to fucking Florida, and you were also talking about in that period of like going to stay with crazy psychotic men who gave you drugs to be in your presence. How did that end? Like, how did that period end? You were just like your boy, because you're doing that behind your boyfriend's back also to get the drugs?
That was later on.
Okay.
So I also went to school at Rutgers Camden at the time. So I could just cop dope. And this was when like Camden, way before their like police reform thing. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it was like, I could just like swing by the best set around on my way to school and be at school at 9 a.m. I could walk over the bridge and cop whenever I wanted.
What's the best set around?
What was?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, you know how like Jersey, did New York bags have like the stamps too?
Yeah.
I know Tap Out was a good one for a long time.
I think we had that like and I haven't done fucking stamped heroin in a million years, but I think Tap Out was one of them.
Yeah, that one killed 11 people, and then it like felt like in one day. Actually, I got that batch too, and it was so crazy. I would never turn it down dope, but for some reason, me and my boyfriend got the Tap Out batch that killed everybody, and he poured it out. And for some reason, I was looking at it, and I don't remember what I saw in it, but I was like, that looks wrong. And he's like, I'm sure it's fine. I'm like, don't do it. He's like, he starts rolling up the bill, and I just blew it off. And then 5 minutes later, someone like, don't do those bags.
Wow. Crazy. That's amazing. I have so many questions, and you're going to have to go to work. So like, how did you, if you weren't with the guy in Florida from then till now, were you?
We broke up like a couple of times because I had relapsed, and just for other reasons. Like we had some growing to do. Like I've had some boyfriends in between, but like we've mostly like, we broke up like twice for about a year, but like we've mostly been together. He's been across the country for a couple of years at this point. I've been doing long distance for years. How
did you get clean?
So was Suboxone, but it was okay. I think I just like, I wasn't an addict that hated my life. Like I'm not even a depressed person. I enjoy life, but I think I started doing drugs so young that like I just didn't even know how to live without them. Like I had no idea how to be an adult or do anything. It was just such a part of my life. And I mean, I was tired of it. I think I started planning for my recovery before it happened. Like,
what does that mean?
I like went back to college and I started dating this like lawyer guy who was like very normal. I was trying to like build a life for myself that like I knew I could eventually lose and that I wouldn't want to lose it over heroin. And like it ended up working out like that. I was like in college, I had gotten a really good job. I was dating that guy, but I actually like didn't really like him, and it was kind of fucked up. The second I like got clean, I was like, oh my god, I don't like this guy at all, and broke up with him.
The lawyer or the Florida guy?
The lawyer.
Okay.
But it was weird too because he was an ex-addict, and I don't understand because I was using like every single day, multiple times a day. I would go in his bathroom and shoot up, and he like never really noticed until one of the guys who was paying for all my drugs was psychotic. He would tell everyone I was his girlfriend, and he was like, he would stalk me. He was completely insane. Like he's like, I have a man named Richard in my head that tells me to hurt you sometimes, and started like sobbing and then like laughing hysterically. It's sad. That guy actually, I think he killed himself. He like threatened me and was like, you have to, like, this was long after I got clean. He's like, I told him that like when I got clean, I moved to California so he'd leave me alone. And he was like so insane to the point where it made him kind of stupid, and he believed me. But then he was like stalking me, and he knew I was here, and he sent me a picture of me like passed out with him behind me, and he's like, I have a bunch of pictures of you naked, and I don't think this is true though. He's like, if you don't meet with me on this Friday at this time, I'm gonna leak them all over the internet. This wasn't even that long ago. This was like 2 years ago. I had my meme page by then, but I was just like, fuck that, I'm not meeting this guy, I don't care. And then that day he died from a cocaine overdose. I think he killed himself. God. So fucked up.
How did you stop using? Like, and you never did 12-step. How did you do it? I
did try 12-step a bunch of times. It was not for me at all. I had really negative experiences in 12 steps, like fucked up sponsors that would like project all their bullshit onto me. Just bad time. People being like, oh, you should definitely go out right now because you haven't hit bottom yet, which is so stupid. Why the fuck would you tell it to somebody? Anyways.
Yes.
I got clean with Suboxone. So yeah, the lawyer guy, the psycho guy texted the lawyer guy and was like, Joelle's my girlfriend and she does heroin with me every day. And I think that like got it in his head to like start looking, or like, I don't know, he just like had a feeling. And one morning we wake up and he's like, I looked in your purse last night and I found your heroin in your needles.
The lawyer.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, you're right. But he didn't. He was like, oh, I just made that up. I'm like, well, I have heroin and needles in my bag. So good one.
It worked.
But he's like, you have to get clean. I'm like, yeah, I want to anyway, because time is running out. Like I was about to start working and going back to school. I'm like, I want to get clean anyway. Like this is kind of the push I need. And I was like, I had been to rehab like 12 fucking times. Most of the times were AMAs though. Like I didn't stay. And I like tried everything. I was like, look, can I just try and do this on my own? Like, I really feel like I could do this on my own. I just need everyone to trust me and stop forcing me to do shit that doesn't work for me. Like, aren't you the guys always saying insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? Like, can I try something new now? So for some reason it worked. Like normally, if I told my parents I was using, they would like get hysterical and like drive me to the police station and try and get me to commit myself and like force me to go to rehab. It was bad. And I was like, Mom, listen, I relapsed. I'm telling you this. I really just want to stay at home and dry out. I'll get myself on a Suboxone. Like, please just let me try this. And if it doesn't work, like you can drug test me. If it doesn't work, I'll go do whatever you want. But I just really want to try this and I think it'll work. And it was really like gratifying. I mean, obviously because it worked, but also because like the lawyer guy's therapist was like, oh, break up with her. She's not going to be able to do it. Like, there's no way in hell. And then I did it. So, like, fuck you, stupid ass therapist.
It was like a challenge. It was like you were like, if you say I can't do it, I'm going to do it. Who gave you the Suboxone first? Was that just like, we'll try replacement therapy and you didn't want to do methadone and Suboxone had just started coming out or whatever?
Yeah, I went to a doctor.
And so, are you still on Suboxone or no?
No.
How long were you on it for?
Like a year and a half.
How'd you get off of it?
It was easy. Like,
all right, break it down.
So I only got up to like 8 milligrams. I mean, I was at 8 milligrams. I stayed on 8 milligrams from, I don't even know like the exact amount of time, but probably
Eight
like
milligrams though is like, I mean, like I remember I was on Suboxone for a second, and we would get the orange octagonal 8 milligram dealies. And like that shit was strong. You know what I mean? Like I never like had a big Suboxone habit, but whenever I took an 8 milligram, I would get high. Like I liked Suboxone, but I never was on it. I imagine though, being on it for a long time, obviously it doesn't get you high, I would
not at all.
imagine it'd be hard to get off of 8 milligrams.
You can't quit at 8 milligrams. If
No.
you do that, even if you stop at like 2 milligrams, you're gonna feel like shit, and that's the problem. And that's why Suboxone has such a bad rep, because like most people who did it and like stop, they stop way too high, or like they're in a situation where you gotta get cut off cold turkey. Like, yeah, if you do that, it's gonna be the worst shit ever. You just have to go down to like, I went down to 1 milligram, but even still, like you can go down to 0.5 milligrams, 0.25 milligrams, and it's gonna be fucking fine.
How do they give you, because like my big dream, like back in the day, we would talk about this all the time, where I felt like people who are getting off Suboxone, they don't make a 0.1. They don't make a 0.01. Like people are so scared to get off 1 milligram, and then you have to cut up the strip or break up the pill. Like what is a 0.25? Was that a strip or was that a pill?
So you could get 2 milligram strips.
Right. And you would snip
and then you
them.
could cut that.
See, don't you think it would make sense to have like 0.9, 0.8, 0.7? Like, why not? Is that just because people don't want people to get off?
I think a lot of doctors are like that. My Suboxone doctor was like that. I had to get clean behind her back.
Wow.
Like she tried to sabotage me too. Like I was like, I think I want to quit. She's like, okay, we'll bring you from 8 to 4. And I'm like, that's gonna make me really sick. She's like, well, then you could just go back up. I'm like, okay, then never mind. I'm staying on it forever.
Horrible. So when you got down to 2.5, did you just get off of it from there, or did you snip them up into tiny pieces?
No, I jumped off at 1 milligram.
And you didn't feel it?
I mean, okay, so the withdrawal in total, I would say it lasted about like 3 weeks, but it was nothing. It was really long, but like I could sleep literally every single night. No restless legs. I was just like sweaty, and my stomach was like messed up for a while. But like I went out every single day. So I touch my hair so much. I don't know what my problem is. But
it's your long, luxurious
and,
hair. I think if I had long hair, I'd be like doing that the whole time too.
I just
it must be
4
like
inches off.
No way. What was I gonna say? So like when you stopped, did you start smoking weed? Were you smoking weed for a bit in like recovery kind of thing, or what? Or were you just done with everything? Were you taking benzos, or where were you at?
No. So technically, like I do whatever drugs I want, but I don't really want to do them anymore. Like what? Like do you know when I got off subs, or when I got onto the subs? Okay.
When you got off of them. When you got off of them.
Well, while I was on subs, like every once in a while, I would do coke sometimes. I did benzos a couple times with the lawyer guy before we broke up, just because I hated being with him, and I think he knew it, so we just got fucked up together. I smoked weed a couple of times. I would drink sometimes, but like not really. Like I kind of was like a casual a casual cocaine user, but really that's a thing in Philadelphia.
I'm sure it's a thing everywhere, but you're a total fucking heroin addict. So to be a casual coke user is like a stretch. You know what I mean? Like how long did you get away with it? How long have you been abstinent? Like where are you at? Like I know your recovery is like one thing that I really like about your story is it's not like everybody else's. It's very different. But still you're abstinent because it's probably easier, right? It's clear.
I just don't like if I were to do coke, like I probably did it. I did it on the 4th of July.
With who?
I don't think since, but like I just don't like how it feels anymore. It sucks. I'm like 30 years old. I don't feel like feeling like shit for the next 3 days.
Who'd you do coke with on July 4th?
A bunch of my friends. There was like a big party, and I hadn't seen anyone in a while.
So you're not like in that I was a horrible drug addict and now I'm not doing drugs. You're like, we'll see what happens kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it works for me.
All right. Well, I mean, and when's the last time you did heroin?
I don't know the date.
I mean, how many years ago?
I guess I did relapse like last year for a period of time, but it was very short.
How long was the relapse?
It's like a couple months.
Wow. And then did you get on Suboxone again?
And I took it to get off, but
yeah. So you just did it quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Do you think you're dependent on guys now?
No.
You don't think you have a relationship dependency issue?
I've considered that. But not really. I don't mind being alone. Like, I like being alone. I don't mind being single at all. I mean, I've been in a long distance relationship for like a couple of years at this point, and I haven't like cheated or anything. Like,
I just had to ask
like,
because a lot of these stories revolve around boyfriends and stuff. But I'm more interested in the relapse. How long had it been without dope? And then what was the relapse? How did that even happen? Break it down. These are the important stories for drug addicts to hear, I think.
It was probably like 3 or 4 years because I got clean and like, I don't know. I really don't pay attention to my clean dates. Like, I have no idea when I quit heroin. I know it was like in July of 2015. I don't even remember when I got off Suboxone. I think it was like February, March of 2016 or 17. So since then, I don't really want to say what happened.
Why not? You've said everything. You said your grandfather gives you pills. What could have happened that you don't want to reveal now?
Because people in my family can't know about it.
Okay.
And my mom watches all this shit. She's not going to watch this. I'm not telling her about this. But even still, like, I don't know. Basically, something really traumatic happened to me that, like, really fucked with me. It was like my worst fear came true. And I didn't know how to deal with it.
And how did you get the dope? Like, who gave it to you? Did you pursue it? Did you go to the spots that you used to go to?
Oh, yeah, I just drove around. I just drove around Philly and got it in like 5 minutes.
I respect you not being able to tell this traumatic story, but at the same time, I hate not knowing what it is. But that's where we'll leave it. Was this the greatest podcast you've ever been on?
This was a good one. Yeah, this was really good. You're so much better than Animals and Moors.
Am I really? Am I really?
You're equal.
Oh, stop it. You could tell me I'm better. It's nice to hear that kind of thing. It's like, you don't know, like, I tried to get you to come to Manhattan for, like, the way that you carried on, like, you're supposed to come and then you didn't come and then, like, horrible. But I'm glad you came now.
My car literally broke down, like, so fucking far away. Like, right in the middle.
Oh, yeah, you're supposed to come and you're like, I got a flat tire. Then you forgot what day it was. Then something with your brother. It was like every excuse what?
They were all true. I could send you text messages. I swear to God, all of it was true. I got a flat tire, and then, my boyfriend said that he totaled his car, which was like 2 days ago, but it's not totaled. But he told me it was.
What's the dream?
Like, up with him.
What's the dream with Namaste at home, Dad? What's the dream? Like, what do you want to do? Like what? Yeah.
I just kind of float through life and like hope something cool happens, and it usually does. I think I would like to be a comedy writer. Like, ideally, I would like to have my own show where I'm like one of the main people, I guess. But I don't really care. Like,
do you do stand up?
What?
Do you do any stand up?
So when I actually did your the Dopey Con, it kind of gave me like I am incapable of like memorizing fucking anything. I blank out really easily. Like I'm just a very off the cuff person, and I'm a good writer, but like I don't think I could do like a rehearsed bit. Like it's so terrifying to me. Not like it's not even like I'm scared. I just can't do it. Like my memory is fucking garbage. It's so bad.
But
So,
when
like,
you
I
went
don't
when
know.
you did DopeyCon, you were like, holy shit, I could be a stand-up.
It gave me some confidence.
Dude, how good was DopeyCon? Wasn't that like the was that
It
not
was
the
really
greatest night of
fun.
was that the greatest night of your life?
No, but it was definitely a lot of fun.
We're doing DopeyCon 3 in September. You want to come?
If I'm on the East Coast, I'll definitely come. Or if I can get out there.
All right. Well, it's very exciting.
Like
Is
I would
there
definitely want to come.
So how will they follow you? Tell them how to follow you, the Dopey Nation.
Instagram. Just go on Instagram and type in at Namaste period at period home period dad. Why did that sound weird? Namaste at home dad with periods in between. I have Facebook too, but I don't like give a shit about it.
Why'd you put periods in between?
I just liked how it looked better than the underscores.
All right.
And Namaste at home dad was already taken, I think.
I think you need to really consider the relapse story, and you should come back on and tell us. Okay.
Oh my God, I literally can't.
Well, that okay. Well, you're gonna
I
meditate
have
on
better
that.
stories than that, anyways.
Well, okay. Let's. I want you to tell me one of them, but tell me. Give me one. Give me one, please.
Right now? What time is it?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you because you have to go.
Oh my
It's
God,
fucking-
this is about my like health insurance and shit.
You gotta
Anyways,
go. It's 12:45. You want to tell it or no?
I don't know. I would have to think of. I can tell you how I got banned from Ambrosia.
Let's hear it.
It's funny. So
Hold on. First, before you do that, say, well, Joelle, thank you so much for coming on the show.
thanks so much for having me. This was like such a good time.
It was amazing. Now, all right, awesome. Now tell me the story.
All right, so me and like my best friend that I met down there, Simone, we were banned from the Port St. Lucie Ambrosia for I don't even know what. I mean, we did a bunch of fucked up shit, but I think the reason we were actually banned was a lie. Like the one tech, there was like a pick me ass tech there who literally, whatever. She was like,
What do you mean? Wait, what's a pick me ass tech? What does that mean?
I don't even really, what the fuck? I don't even really like to use that term that much, but like a pick me is a woman who like likes to put down other women and make herself seem like she's like one of the guys. Like she's just so much cooler than other girls. And it's like really obvious to other women, but guys are like, what are you talking about? Like she's so cool.
Right.
I touch my hair so much, like fucking stop.
It's not.
I think if I
Just
did-
don't. You can touch your hair the whole time. Just don't mention touching your hair. It's like it's not. I don't think it's bad that touching the hair. Anyway,
Everyone's
so this
judged me for it.
who's
Okay,
the
so
pick me ass tech? What did she do?
she just like basically she told everyone at Ambrosia that I was stalking which is so annoying. I would never stalk a man. Like I wouldn't even pursue a man. But she said that on camera that they caught me like stalking one of the guys that was still in rehab at the guy's house, and that she had to like go out and tell me to go away, and then I like freaked out. Like she made the whole thing up. It was just so annoying. And after that, actually, whatever, I already said some fucked up shit on it. I threw a bunch of my needles on the front yard of the guy's rehab house because I was like, fuck you. I was like really crazy. Also, there was that, but then also like I had a car and like my girl's house, a bunch of the girls from my house, and then like a bunch of basically like half of the town, we all relapsed at once. Like we planned this mass relapse, and like pretty much all the halfway houses were like emptied out, and like everyone at the rehab had like heard about it. So then, yeah, we were like banned from that rehab. And so we had to go to the one in West Palm, but we were like, we're not going unless we can go together, blah, blah, blah. And then I don't even know why I said this part. This has nothing to do with like what actually happened. But
This
okay,
is great.
so
I just love the idea of a mass rehab in a town in Florida. Like I always
a
dreamed of
mass
something like
relapse.
that.
It was
Yeah,
crazy.
a mass relapse.
It was
So
insane. There was like 25 of us in like this big motel room for like a couple days. But it was bad because like nobody had money. They just wanted to relapse. And it's like I
what
had
happened?
a car.
What happened in the relapse in the motel room if nobody had any money?
I mean, like we had money at first.
So what were you
So
doing?
like
You
we
buying
always just
dope
tried to
and crack or
Westfall.
what? I imagine like
Dilaudid.
just Dilaudid. Were you shooting it in the motel?
Yeah.
Wow.
Other people were doing crack and stuff, but I don't even like crack.
Me neither.
What's
No. No. Keep going.
all right, so that story I was actually telling, which is I think funnier. So me and that girl, we leave the rehab together. We end up finding this house that's run by this
Simone.
woman.
You and Simone?
Yeah, Simone.
Okay.
We find this like $1 million condo. It's like super fucking nice. That was like posing as a halfway house. The woman who ran it used to be like a really big deal in Delray recovery. And she was dating this other guy who was a really big deal in Delray recovery. But I think he was like cheating on her. So she was secretly relapsing and just like pretending like she let us use the entire time that we were there just so she could like continue to pay rent for the house. And she had all these like fake drug tests ready. And it was insane. I'm not going to lie. It was like the best time I had in Florida.
Hold on.
It was
Explain that. Wait. Explain that better. Please explain what you just said better, more
What part?
thoroughly. You moved to a house in Delray with one of the big shots in Delray recovery. She
It was
was
actually in Boynton
dating,
Beach.
huh?
It was in Boynton Beach, actually.
Boynton Beach. Okay. And she was dating one of the big shots in Delray, and he was cheating on her, so she was relapsing. And you were living in her sober house?
Yeah, but like it was not a sober house. And she was insane. Like she wanted me to be her daughter. She would say that all the time. She was really cool. We kind of looked alike too. Like she looked like an older version of me. She was like an ex-musician. She like opened up for the Violent Femmes and stuff before. But like she would do really weird shit, like eat all my roommates' food. Like she would steal her chicken pot pies, eat them, and then put it back up, wrap it back up, put it in the freezer, and then blame it on me. And we would open like she would be asleep until like 3 a.m. and then ask to borrow my car. And then like she wouldn't come back until like 6 a.m. and there would be like a bunch of different credit cards with like different girls' names on it. I looked them up and I realized that those were girls that lived in the halfway house before, and random pill bottles with the same girls' names on it. All my clothes started going missing. And the crazy thing, I'm just telling another story now. The crazy thing was like, okay, so I had a car, but my friend was from Florida, so she had all the drug connects. And she would always get more drugs than me, even if like we had the same amount of money. It was annoying. So like one day I was like, I'm going to show her what it's like to not be able to like get a ride from me. So she stops like taking advantage of me. And I see her walking down the highway with a bunch of clothes. And I'm like, oh, I feel bad. She's like selling clothes to get money for drugs. So I pick her up and I drive her to Plato's Closet. She was selling my clothes and she got kicked out over that. But when she left, my clothes kept still going missing. And one day I come home, and it was actually my parents were coming to visit that day. It was for Easter. And the halfway house lady is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but like I didn't pay rent. And there's like this Brazilian woman with cancer who actually owned the house, like screaming at her, being like, you have junkies living here. He's like, you gotta get out, blah, blah, blah. She moved us into some random garage in like a men's halfway house with like a baby. It was so awful. And while I'm living there, I like made count of all my clothes. And then like a couple days later, I noticed that all my favorite clothes are missing. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I think she's stealing them. My boyfriend at the time was telling me like, oh, you definitely just lost them. I'm like, I would never. I look under her mattress and like a bunch of my clothes are laid flat under the mattress, but not just my clothes, like all these other women's clothes. It was so weird. I just went through all of her shit and I found more like pill bottles and all this just different stuff. She was like a compulsive thief.
Wow. And how long did you live in Florida?
I think like 1.5 years on and off. I'm not really sure.
And then
I'm
you went
so
back
bad.
to Jersey? Then you went back
Huh?
to Jersey?
Yeah, because like the whole time I was down there, I'm like, Mom, this is insanity down here. Like these people are using me and they're lying to you. Like I am way worse off down here than I ever was back in Jersey. Which like, but like the counselors would call her and be like, don't believe anything she says. Like she's dying down here.
Amazing.
Oh my god, I have so many fucking Florida
You're
stories.
a treasure trove of dopiness. So you got to go do your health insurance thing. Thank you so much for adding a little behind the dope magic at the end. You got to come back on and tell us more stuff, okay?
I totally will, literally whenever you want.
All right, cool. We'll do a daily reflection too. Thank you for coming. Goodbye.
No, baby, I'm face down on the floor. No, baby.